And the topic we're going to be talking about is Black Friday. I haven't heard a lot of like rumblings around it yet. Maybe.
It's coming up. I hear some messaging of being like, we're priming Black Friday offers or get your audience ready. And I'm sitting there just rolling my eyes because I'm like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So like full disclosure, I have a little PTSD around Black Friday because if you didn't know this, I worked in the clothing retail space for basically since I could work. I got my first job at the Gap when I was 16. I left retail when I was 35. So I spent 20 years in retail, and I did 20 Black Friday
I
in the
can't even
mall.
imagine.
And I think I even did it the first year that I left. Like I had officially quit Athleta, but I was still there, get my discount because their discount was pretty sweet. I did another one, and I think last year was the first time that I was off on Black Friday, and my daughter wanted to go to the mall because we never get to go Black Friday shopping. Let's go Black Friday. So I'm going to bring a view from working in Black Friday, like boots on the ground, like what we saw, what we learned, like the different stages that Black Friday went. And then I've also had clients that have done launches for Black Friday. And then Rachel's going to bring her like marketing side of things too, which she said something in her last episode. I was like, you need to make a reel about that. And it was like, do you have the energy or something like that to compete, like helping a client try to decide if this is for them?
Yeah. I always approach it from an energetic perspective because there's three things that I talk about with my clients. I'm like, one, do you even want to discount anything that you have? Is that something that is even a desire, or do we just feel like we're doing it because it needs to be enticing for this big, like, national promotion day?
Yeah.
And then two is, what is the energy that you have? As we approach the end of the year, a lot of people start to be like, I'm burned out, I'm drained, or I'm ready for the holidays. And they don't really have this kind of like last push in them. And I say, honor them, because ultimately what you are doing is competing with the big box retailers. And those retailers, like what you had said, like in your experience, the amount of effort that goes into one store's promotion, and not even to mention the online space on top of that, you are literally competing with that. And it's let the big guys have their day, whatever. Be strategic in when you want to push this out. Don't just do things because people on the internet tell you to do things. That's my biggest mantra for the year is like, hi.
Okay. So we're going to go deeper into each one of these because I want to go back home. But what's your third? You said there's three things.
So discount, energy, and then competition. So do you want to discount? Do you have the energy? And why do you want to be battling these competition people?
Yeah. So I think let's dig into discounting and what that looks like and what I've seen that it can do to your business. So from like this like retail perspective, I guess what you want to watch to avoid, I feel like with discounting is you don't want to be one, if you're doing one-on-one, my first thought about this is like, if you're doing one-on-one services, do not discount your time. Do not discount it. I think maybe a way around this, if you want to do something, if you ultimately go through these three questions and you decide it, like maybe there's a bonus or something that you can add on. But I think discounting your time, it's not even going to be worth it. But also it's like, you do not want to train your customers to wait for a promotion. And I will say this I feel like this is like public knowledge, but like, you don't want to be a Banana Republic. Like I worked for Gap Inc. for years, and Banana Republic went through some really, really hard times. I feel like they're making a comeback now because it was this like higher end retail store, but to drive sales and compete against like fast fashion companies like Forever 21 and that sort of thing, when like the early 2000s, like they started offering discounts for like their higher end merchandise. And then their customers only started shopping when there's a discount. So there's like stores that you walk into. Where were we the other day? It's like Hobby Lobby, where everything's like 40% off. Now they just like market like it's like what this is not worth $50, but it's like, oh, it's 50% off. So it's only like 25, not 50. It's like because they've trained their customers to only shop when there's a discount. And you do not want to do that with your customers as well. So I guess I want to hear from your perspective. Like I said, like you can offer bonuses. Like, are there any other like tactics besides offering discounts that you know, used in your clients' launch strategies that's worked?
Yeah. So for past like Black Friday campaigns, there's always two rules. One, don't ever introduce a new offering during Black Friday. And then two, don't discount something that's like, I guess what people would consider like an active off. Like you had said, like one-on-one calls or thing that actually take like your energy. So things that are passive, or maybe you're doing some type of hiring a program, something along those ends. Like, of course, like maybe then it's the right time, but I still think like it deserves its own spot outside of the Black Friday shadows. And so those are definitely like my two rules is never ever introduce new ones, new offerings, and then always try to do as much passive as possible and never try to discount your own active time because like you said, it is so hard to reverse the trained behavior of waiting for a discount, like for your clients to be like waiting for that discount because it's ingrained. That's why promotions and samples and freebies and things like that are so like good that people like approach them more because like it's that law of reciprocity, right? But I don't want to believe in discounting one-on-ones and like active time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think another like kind of good idea is like you can like bundle if you do have products, like bundling
And
together so that they're
yeah,
like a shared value where they're like not discounting, but my clients have seen success when it's bundling things together, and that sort of thing. I did have a client introduce a new offer, but this was something, it was a masterclass that she had done before and it did well, but we don't have anything to compare against because that's the only time she's ever launched that offer. So we don't know like if we would have done it at a later time. But you also
yeah,
could think about like where your customer is at that time, like your ideal customer. Are they, if they're a mom and they're spending, their kids are out of school, they've just done Thanksgiving, they're going to be distracted and they're not going to be online as much, or they're going to be at is your ideal customer someone that Black Friday shop because they're not going to be hearing you. So I think it's just so much. And like Rachel and I both like, we don't really believe in cookie cutters and it's all about saying what's right for your business, but like thinking about who your ideal client is, what they're going to be doing at that time. Would this even be appealing for them? I know for where we're working in a retail space for Black Friday in particularly, the people that are shopping in the mall on Black Friday, they're not Christmas shopping yet. They are fall shopping.
yeah,
So like the Christmas shopping doesn't really begin until maybe like the second week of December. But most
mhm,
people that we would see in Black Friday are shopping for themselves, they're looking for a deal, they're doing that thing. There's very few of them, maybe like the kind of like boomer generation that are actually Christmas shopping, but most of like millennials and like the Gen Zers, are they Z?
Gen Zers.
Gen Zers, they are self shopping for.
Yeah,
So I think it's just all about thinking about your ideal customer and what they're going to be, and is this offer going to be appealing to them at that time?
yeah, totally. I completely agree. It's awareness into your ideal client and acknowledging I always tell my list or I tell my email subscribers this. I'm like, you'll never catch me emailing you on a weekend because I know my ideal client is not sitting there reading through business emails on a week. No. So always understand the actual behaviors of your ideal client because that's going to kind of make this decision more solidified to be like, do they have budget for this? Or even if your product is something a little bit more like emotional or like serious, is this what they want to spend their money on right now? Or do they want to buy something fun and light or whatever? So just like really being honest about that is key to making this decision as informed as possible to skip Black Friday.
Yep, for sure. I definitely agree. All right. So energy availability. And like we said, I'll tell you from a boots on the ground perspective, we start planning corporate probably starts planning Black Friday like the day after Black Friday, the year prior. But in the stores, we would actively start like our ramp up and planning in August. So like from August to November, we are hiring and we are resetting the stores and we are training and we are looking at our forecast from last year and making sure that we have the right amount of people. So there's so much energy and so much pressure that these big corporations and money that these big corporations put behind this. And I'm sure even like ad spend probably is crazy, and trying to even get amount of money you'd have to spend to get your ads hit during that
Yeah.
time is probably crazy. So I just think from that's the energy and the bigger life, like intense, crazy training. I like as much as I say I have PTSD, I love it because I love like planning. Like it was like planning a giant launch every year and like making sure and like the day when you get to see it like finally like orchestrate together was just really fun for me when you see it come to life. But yeah, so I feel like, do you have that amount, like exactly what you said? Do you have that
Yeah.
amount of energy to compete against that kind of thing?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to our conversation of capacity, but also acknowledging that when these bigger businesses are telling you, let me teach you or not big businesses, because I want to make sure we're like talking about Black Friday in a way that online marketers and then retailers. So when these online retailers are like, steal my Black Friday promotion plan, and this one got me $100,000, that when you're buying this, you're acknowledging, like the big retailers, they have a whole campaign team, a bunch of project managers. They're doing ad spend, market research, all of these things to then reach that space of $100,000 or whatever from their like sale. And so making sure that you're not like feeling the FOMO of everybody else is going to do it, and actually like honoring this is a rest period for me, and really respecting that part of your like seasonal business, because it's so easy to get caught up and be like, oh, I should do this. And I don't know if we should get caught up in the shoulds of business, or we should actually acknowledge, how does this feel? Do I even want to do this?
Well,
Instead of,
it's remembering why, for me, it's remembering why I even started this in the first place. Like one of the main drivers from starting my business was I had worked in the retail space all my life. And I had, there were points where Black Friday started on Thanksgiving. It's like now Black Friday, and I would have to go in on Thanksgiving. And now Black Friday starts like the beginning of November and stuff like that. But it's like I had missed so many, like my kids are out that week of Black Friday. Like I intentionally started this business to be able to give them my attention when they're out of school. So it's like, I do not want to, sign up for that. And when a client comes to me and is like, I want to do a Black Friday sale, I'm not going to say no, if that's what they want to do it. They want to do it. But there is a very intentional plan about we're going to have all of this wrapped up before this week, because during the holiday, we're not going to have to do that. I've launched with my clients, we finished, their launch plan and everything's set up, ready to go and automated to go off. And we're just checking in on it a little bit at a time. Like they had the team to support that everything was going to get finished, and they weren't Thanksgiving night writing emails to go out.
I've been
over an international audience, maybe it's still, but still you're going up against so much big energy that day. That's probably just a time to lock it off and don't worry about it.
Yeah. And I think it's real to acknowledge the fact, if you do have a promotional sale on Black Friday, and maybe let's say you make $400, $500 if it's low ticket, like we can acknowledge that, like, sure, that's beautiful that you made that, right? It's hard as a business owner to turn away opportunities to make money. But I think making sure that you're not costing yourself non-monetary damages through like burnout and wasted your own personal hours. Because if you're calculating how much time it takes you to build this promotional campaign out, like set it up and launch it, and like maybe have your VA help, is it equal or less than the $500 you might actually be returning on that, like time money? So I think that's also like, it's real to be like, I made $500 last year, but it's like, but how much energy and like of your own time, like if you had to bill your own hours to yourself, would it actually be profitable? I think is something to also acknowledge.
Yeah, for sure. That's where it comes back to project planning and putting out your time so that you know how much you're actually spending on this, whether it be your time or money.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And then our third point is competition, which we already talked about a lot about the different businesses. Do you have anything else to add about competition?
I just think I like really want to reiterate like there is no need to be taking your baby business and maybe your big business or whatever, like however the energy feels in your business and pit it against someone that is like 10,000 employees, $1 million budgets. Like to me, from an intentionality standpoint, I see that and I go, pick my battle. That's not my battle I want to be fighting in. And I think it's really important to acknowledge just that, like, the time and energy and budgets that go into these big retail, big online business campaigns is real. And it's no amount of FOMO or project planning can like make the energies exchange worth it. So I don't know. That could sound very negative, and I'm sure it might not be received by a lot of people. But I think for the people who would listen to our podcast and to the people who are in our audience, like it's almost like permissions. Like, please do not feel pressured to do it. And if you are looking to sit back and be like, I don't want to, this is your permission slip to be like, you don't have to.
Yeah, because I feel like the pressure is about to get heated. You're about to hear it from all sorts of people about, I did this launch, or you need to launch, or don't leave money on the table. And it's like sometimes it's okay. Remember, like, what else are you leaving on the table if you're going to pick out that money? So, like, make your decision and, like, just be strong with it because there's always going to be another opportunity. I don't want to be like, just don't do it. Okay. So, if someone decides this is not for them, do you have any other, I guess, what are some ways or Q4 we're just shutting it down and we're like not out competing against anything? Or is like there other promotional campaign ideas that you
So there's so much nuance in that question. So I say alternatives to Black Friday. Let's say do a Q1 plan
yeah.
or have the past 3 quarters and look back and see like actual data that's going to make more money for you in the upcoming year. Traditionally, I see a lot of businesses, especially like investments in marketing and investments in non-fun things, slow down significantly in November and December. So really not forcing yourself into the opportunity to have disappointment if your promotion doesn't go well. So I would say do some planning as an alternative because that's going to make you more money in the next year. Do some market insights. See when your audience, like what are the seasons of purchasing in your actual business? And then I don't know what the last one could be, but ultimately just don't even stress about it.
Yeah. I think it's like look at your data because I'll counter that being like last year, 'cause I think I saw someone post about this. Like, don't do anything for Q4. Look at your data, look at your insights. Look at my data, I looked at my insights, and I signed a client in November, a client in December, and a client in January, and they were with me for a very, very long time. My data insights, they're coming. Now they weren't ready to start getting rolling until January, but they were thinking about next year and the shifts that they needed to make. And I also know what I did last year is that in September, I emailed all my clients and asked them for referrals. So it took about until November for all those people to start rolling in. So I think it's just about knowing your audience and checking in with your own data and insights and not letting outside influences and arbitrary rules, narratives that we hear in the internet get to you. Stay strong, stay grounded, and stay centered.
Yes to all of that.
All right. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. We're rooting